Oh, it's good to be back. I've missed giving commentary on Really? Oh, why did I bother? Welcome, friends. Seeing as I've been away from video production for a few months, it would be fair to expect a rousing and bombastic return to my age-old hobby of documenting my pixel-strangling adventures. Well, this isn't it. With all the celebration capability of a wet firework and a choking guttural whimper, I present Food Truck Tycoon, released by Beltoro Games to the Xbox One in September 2022. Having provided a handsome budget of $3.99 to fund this return, I intend to wring every last drop of meddlesome middle ground in mediocrity I can from this comestible cookery caper. Our morbid curiosity sees us traverse to the game's title screen to revel in the cursed visage of our unnamed protagonist, a man that looks like someone who would not only spit in your food, but would also charge you for the recipe. An unnamed protagonist would usually be a fertile ground of pernicious opportunity for a channel such as this one. However, seeing as he is clearly being deadly serious betwixt the provision of his folded arms and glassy-eyed soulless stare, I shall instead refer to him as Percival, the pondering pots and pans Puritan. Patent pending. Seeing as written manuals were apparently consigned to history just after the last Diplodocus was seen upright, it is up to us to stumble cretinously towards the game's storefront page, hoping to reveal more succulent tidbits about fulfilling your dream of becoming the tycoon of the best food trucks in the city. Well, given that the game has no city to speak of, and presents a veritable network of exactly one food truck that Percival just so happens to own, this doesn't seem too much of an unachievable goal. Indeed, Percival's proud boast of "my food will send you to heaven" will attest to his skills, while conveniently omitting that his cuisine will most likely send you to the hospital first before using the express route to heaven. The boneheaded inaccuracies continue in Food Truck Tycoon, with the promise of over 35 achievements to complete. So 36 it is then. Close enough. However, I shall take the advice of being careful not to burn the food very seriously, seeing as grilled ice cream is confusingly unpopular in this city. So having been instructed that your only job is to take orders, prepare food and serve it to as many customers as possible, we can set about preparing the promised 50 dishes to the throngs of impatient mindless plebs presented before us. While trying to convince ourselves that 2 varieties of sausage, bread, salad, ice cream, drinks and 2 sauces somehow constitute 50 dishes, we can also rest assured that the ingredients used by Percival are the finest that can be scavenged from the bins of much more successful restaurants. The game begins at a blisteringly sluggish pace, with Percival being asked to provide an exact replica of the customer's orders until the day ends. Once you achieve this lofty goal, simply repeat it another 149 times for peak excitement and exhilaration. The gameplay at this point boasts the sophistication of a perfectly seasoned glass of water, assuming that the seasoning is a recently melted ice cube and concentrated despair. However, there are perils and pitfalls for your grossly incompetent and barely conscious psyche to haplessly cartwheel into. The greatest of these presents itself as a gameplay mechanic of pure spite, where if you have the brass-neck temerity to place an incorrect item onto a plate, you simply bin the plate, and whatever 7-course banquet happened to be on it at the time. If you turn a perfectly edible sausage into a cylinder of charred shame, you can also happily throw away the pan it was sat in, while enjoying the sight of the bin fining you for being so cack-handed. We're only one step away from placing a plate onto the wrong countertop and responding with the completely proportionate action of throwing away the van, hopefully with Percival in it. While the customers should be treated as mortal threats that could take off your head with one lash of their tongues, at least you'll have a relationship better than that of a passing acquaintance with the controls. The pick up and place elements that cover the cooking of sausages and depositing of prepared foodstuffs onto the plates function well for the most part, and having individual controller buttons that manage the preparation of each item also allows for a reasonable level of multitasking. However, moving between each part of your cooking station is often frustratingly slow, especially when your success boils down to the hunger-fueled jerk in front of you, while they loudly demand a scale model of Buckingham Palace made from ice cream, napkins and chips to be provided to them 12 seconds ago. During your process from the current bland level to the subsequent boring level and the tedious drag of the levels beyond, your only objective is to amass armfuls of coins to throw at the game's countless upgrades you can apply to ingredients and bar decorations. Well, countless as long as you consider any amount over 40 upgrades to be brushing the ceiling of mathematical infinity itself. While investing in better ingredients and machinery has a direct impact on your ability to sail through the next irksome level with a degree of added ease, the bar decorations amount to changing the completely unused furniture in the background, and represents a stupefying level of pointlessness not last seen since tap dancing in a bark shredder suddenly lost its appeal. Bearing in mind the completely inoffensive graphics, and the overall sound having the decency not to warrant a feverish pounding of the mute button, we come to a pertinent question. Why did I choose to play this mildly pleasant, but excruciatingly average game in the first place? Well, I suppose that Food Truck Tycoon represents a paradox for me as a gamer of over 3 decades. This game was released in 2022, originates from around 2005, and could be played on any 90s hardware with processing power in excess of a leaking kettle. And yet here I am, playing this title in 2023, using a device with over a dozen teraflops of power, most of it utterly squandered. When I look at the many thousands of games I could play, I have a strange tendency of playing the likes of Food Truck Tycoon, as it stands dressed in its beige pyjamas, mauve slippers, vanilla bathrobe, and holding a cup of Horlicks while stood in the most inoffensive part of a painfully ordinary corner of an otherwise dull room. In the end, games like this certainly have their place in today's entertainment landscape, and can always be called upon during those thrilling times where you may be waiting for a bus in the rain, or waiting anxiously for your dentist to drill several extortionate holes into your head. When something slightly more desirable than absolute boredom is called for, Food Truck Tycoon will be on hand to inoffensively drag its tired corpse unenthusiastically to the rescue. Until next time, goodbye friends.